Sound design. It's the art of designing your sound to match your visuals. Now everyone, get your notebook and pen and write this next part down. You can get away with bad visuals, but you cannot get away with bad sound. As in, you can have a great visual edit, but without good sound design, that good visual edit is at 50% of its potential. For example, do you remember that flat earth sequence that I showed? Now let's watch it without any sound or music. That was a bit awkward, wasn't it? However, if you put some sound effects underneath, and then a music track, everything just feels that little bit better, doesn't it? In film, a small indie director called George Lucas once said, "Sound is half the picture." And George Lucas has a point. Have you ever seen little kids play Star Wars? What sound do they make? I'm not doing it.
Do it.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that sound. Come on, we've all done that one. What we don't realize is that we hear videos more than we see them. Back in Shakespeare's day, they wouldn't say, "We're going to see a play." Instead, they would say, "We're going to hear a play." And I can prove that we listen to media more than we watch it with a simple example. In the last 24 hours, have you watched TV while also looking at your phone? If you've answered yes, you weren't watching TV. You were listening to TV. So how do we make good sound? First, let's break down sound into two categories: diegetic and non-diegetic sound. Diegetic sounds are sounds that the characters hear. For example, in this shot of someone waiting for a lift, this character would hear the lift beep as it arrived. They would hear footsteps as they enter the lift. They would hear their finger press the button, and they'd hear the bell ring as the lift reaches their floor. Now, I'm gonna lift the veil on some movie magic for you. Most diegetic sounds are not recorded in camera. In this shot, for example, I went into my sound library and I matched the elevator noises and the footsteps to the action on screen. Why do editors do this? Well, most mics on set are usually just pointed at the talent, not at the environment. It's just plain easier to ramp up that diegetic sound in post and build out your sound world that way. I myself ramp up the diegetic sound in vlogs all the time. I add in cloth sounds to emphasize his movement. I add rooms to his car vlogs all the time. So those are diegetic sounds, all the sounds that the characters on screen would hear. So what won't they hear, but you will? Let's talk about non-diegetic sounds. Non-diegetic sounds are sounds that the audience can hear, but the characters cannot. This is soundtracks. Stings. Drum rolls.
It's gonna get messy.
Things like that. But why do editors add these sounds? After all, when we're watching the Bake Off, these contestants don't really hear a drum roll when they take a cake out of the oven.
Alright, that's done.
Wouldn't it be considered doctoring the footage, adding drum rolls and stings and music? The reason editors use non-diegetic sound is because it puts us in the minds of those characters. Sure, there literally wasn't a drum roll on the set of Bake Off, but when they finally opened that oven,
want to bake a cake this big.
It felt like there was a drum roll. Non-diegetic sound is so important to get that feeling across to the audience, to pull them through the camera and into the scene. For example, let's go back to that lift scene. Let's say this person is going to work and they know they're going to have a tense meeting with their boss. They could get fired for all they know. We could start by adding some tense music. Maybe something with a ticking sound, so we get the fact that they are really dreading this meeting starting. And then as she's anxiously waiting to arrive at the floor, we can swell up the music. It builds and cut to black. And there we go, we now have a scene of someone who knows they're going to potentially be laid off. Instead of a simple shot of a woman entering a lift, we've now used sound design to tell a story. I do this all the time in my content. I can take something from the original footage that can be seen as unremarkable, and I use sound to put us in the minds of the characters. For instance, here's a video I did with my client Sam and Colby. This shot looks like just two guys going into a tunnel having a laugh.
Hold the door for me.
Jake is going first.
Jake! You're in a mine, bro. Be careful.
How often have you explored this floor?
Just once. You've only explored this once? Yep.
But that's not how they felt when this happened. When this happened, they felt scared. So now I'm going to show you how I use sound to emphasize that they were scared. I want to make the world of the tunnel seem like this terrifying world. And so the way I did that is I had the music build up.
Wait a second, I just want to show you guys this because you can't see it. Yeah. But look.
Like you're entering, dun 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 dun. The music builds up to this swell.
Hold the door for me. Jake is going first.
Jake! You're in a mine, bro.
And it cuts suddenly. It's like as if you're holding your breath and then something just takes the rest of your air away. And after that harsh cut, I chose that this next track has this really minimal but terrifying knocking rhythm to it. At this point, you don't hear any diegetic sounds. I've muted them. All you hear is this creepy knocking song as it gets darker and darker and they go deeper and deeper into this tunnel. By muting the diegetic sounds, it's like we're in this otherworldly place, which adds to the fear factor. That knocking sound makes it feel like we're knocking on hell's door. The placement, pacing, frequency, pitch, and volume of your sound affects how your audience feels. It's something you as an editor design. Traditional media has composers. New media doesn't. Thus, as the editor, you're essentially the composer when it comes to sound design. A big trap people fall into is that they edit to the music, but it should be the other way around. You should edit the music to the story. I am constantly taking tracks and chopping and changing them around to better match the story. Look at how many cuts there are in a sequence in this Pokemon video. This is what the original song sounded like.
So, I started buying more and more. Oh, these are so cool.
One of my favorite Pokemon. Gengar, also one of my favorite Pokemon of all time.
Woo! First edition Yellow Cheeks Pikachu. $3,000 card right here.
Don't mind if I do.
I'm like officially a collector.
As my collection grew, so did my excitement for the hobby. I started watching Pokemon professionals doing advanced research on eBay and even met up with some pretty passionate collectors.
Slabs on slabs. Look at signed and sketched. Top one. This is the only one in the fucking world.
I found out instead of buying the cards outright, you could even buy what's called a booster box, guaranteed to have a holographic card in it. If just one of those cards is a Charizard, you hit the jackpot. Josie actually pulled one from a random base pack I bought.
Don't touch it. Don't even look at it. Don't breathe on it.
And then she ended up doing it again.
Bro, shut the up.
And to better respect the pacing of the story, here's what it sounded like after I chopped the song up to match the visuals.
So I started buying more. And more. And more.
Oh, these are so cool. One of my favorite Pokemon. Gengar, also one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. First edition Yellow Cheeks Pikachu. $3,000 card right here.
Don't mind if I do.
I'm like officially a collector.
As my collection grew, so did my excitement for the hobby. I started watching Pokemon professionals doing advanced research on eBay and even met up with some pretty passionate collectors.
Slabs on slabs. Look at sign and sketch. Pop one. This is the only one in the fucking world.
Then I found out instead of buying the cards outright, you could even buy what's called a booster box, which comes with 36 packs of cards, 12 of which are guaranteed to have a holographic card in it. If just one of those cards is a Charizard, you hit the jackpot. In fact, Josie actually pulled one from a random base pack I bought.
Don't touch it. Don't even look at it. Don't breathe on it.
And then she ended up doing it again.
Bro, shut the up. Shut the up.
So as editors, your sound design starts from where and how you source your sounds. So how do you go about sourcing good sounds? Every quarter, I go through every music licensing site and I proactively make playlists for myself and my clients. I even listen to these sites casually. I treat my licensing sites the same way people treat Spotify. With good communication with my clients, I can anticipate what type of sound design I will need to build. And so I source those sound effects sooner rather than later. This gives you an even better efficiency in the edit if you already have that folder ready. I listen to these sites recreationally, as in if I like a song enough, it gets added to a playlist. Editors, I urge you not to wait until you need a track. Start early and prepare yourself for the moments for when you need it. That way, when you need a sad reflective song, for example, you already have a playlist of options to pick from because you were a proactive editor. So to summarize, your non-verbal communication can be maximized, not by what you show me, but by what you make me hear. Sound is half the picture. That's what's true. So you should not neglect how you can use sound to inform how the audience should feel. It's a phenomenal way to guide the audience. And that's another secret in editing. How are you guiding the audience to information? Sound is informing us on how to feel. But how can you ensure you're showing us the exact information to see? The answer is in composition.